Welcome to Refinery Injury Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the Refinery Injury Podcast with Brooks Harrison. Brooks is a Texas trial attorney dedicated to representing refinery and plant workers who suffer catastrophic injuries in explosions, fires, and chemical accidents across the South. I'm Shameika Rhymes, and today we're talking about crushed and pinned injuries, some of the most severe accidents that happen when heavy machinery or loads don't move the way they're supposed to. Welcome back, Brooks.
Thanks for having me, Shameika.
Well, Brooks, you've been around refineries long enough to see how fast a load can shift. What kinds of situations usually lead to someone getting crushed or pinned on a job site?
Well, generally, it's going to happen near moving equipment when exclusion zones aren't respected. Spotters end up losing sight or loads become unstable. And, congested sites, especially in a turnaround, makes it even easier for things to go wrong with all the activity.
Well, a lot of the injuries come from cranes, lifts, rigging, or even suspended loads. What goes wrong in the moments leading up to those failures?
Well, yeah, rigging can fail, obviously. Equipment gets overloaded. The ground itself isn't quite stable, or communication breakdowns right when a lift is happening and not communicating. We keep talking about communicating in previous episodes. It goes back to communication and paying attention. So always rush setups are a massive factor as well. So take your time, follow the steps, do things correctly, and then we leave and go see our kids.
Well, workers often say everything looked fine right before the accident. So what details do people tend to miss when heavy equipment is being moved or positioned?
It's usually the subtle things. It's like just as I spoke about the ground or the surface, soft, loose gravel, loose ground. Just even the slightest of load shifts can have horrible effects. And as we were talking about with releases, we always have to be cognizant and be aware of the wind patterns. And these little signs of strain on rigging or cranes are always important to try to pay attention to. So with your eyes open, paying attention at all times and not being so caught up in trying to get the job done is probably the best course of action.
Well, many job sites involve several contractors working side by side on the same equipment. So how does that mix of crews affect communication during high-risk tasks like lifting or hoisting?
Well, I mean, different contractors, different crews, they may be using different communications tools, whether they're hand signals or different radio channels. Assumption about who's watching the load and can also create blind spots. You're expecting those folks over here to be paying attention to that, so you may be ignoring it. Everybody needs to be paying attention to loads and making sure blind spots hopefully don't exist. So it's about coordination, and coordination takes a little extra effort that sometimes gets skipped in the rush to get things done.
Well, after a serious machinery accident, what helps you understand whether the issue started with the equipment, the planning, or the way that the job was supervised?
Well, obviously, we hire experts. So the experts roll in and we work with the experts, and probably the first thing that we're going to look at are the maintenance records. How well was this unit or this line or whatever it may be, was it properly maintained? And if it was maintained on a proper schedule, was it properly performed? You need to look at the lift plans. You need to look at the operator training. You need to look at supervision logs. And you also need to look at what people saw right before it happened, and that gets through witness communications as well. Usually it's a mix of a lot of different factors, most of which I just described.
Well, some of the worst injuries involve equipment operators who just aren't familiar with the exact conditions on that site. So what challenges come up when operators rotate from job to job without that consistent training?
I mean, it's just unfamiliarity. They might not know the site specific hazards within that unit. Clearly, I keep talking about wind patterns, but understanding and being cognizant of wind patterns is very important. Overhead or underground lines, where those are running, that's always a very important aspect on any particular job.
So are these questions they should ask when they are about to start at a new job site?
Oh, absolutely. That should be through your safety. Your safety should have those plans. But again, what is true yesterday may not be true tomorrow. So things change. Things are moving so fast with so many different contractors, especially in a turnaround or maintenance period.
Well, you've handled cases where a single misjudgment with a load or piece of equipment changed someone's entire life. Can you share a situation that illustrates how quickly heavy machinery can turn dangerous?
No, of course, a load that looks like it's completely stable can slip, and one slip can lead to catastrophe. And so you need to make sure you know where the weak points are within any rigging, and so you pay more attention to those weak points. So because just in seconds, a swing or drop and a slight movement, someone is pinned. I've had many cases involving those situations, and that just shows how fast whenever you get caught up in a routine and don't really do your safety checkoffs while you're performing your job, one move turns extremely serious and potentially fatal.
So, families often ask why a safer setup wasn't used, like additional rigging, spotters, barriers, or shutdowns. So, what have you seen about those decisions get made in the field?
Almost inevitably, and I hate saying this over and over, but speed and the cost to the facility or the seller often wins out in the moment. You'll see extra spotters, extra safeties, extra hole watches, extra fire watches. You'll see them not out working that day. They got pulled off the job. Or they skipped the added rigging because this is just a little quick move. And pressure out in the field can override the safety options that should be chosen.
Well, for workers who spend their days around cranes, forklifts, man lifts, pipe racks, or other heavy equipment, what is something worth paying attention to the moment they step into a new site?
Right away, know your safety or exclusion zones. Try to be proactive and understand where common blind spots may occur, whether it's within the unit or within a loading situation, especially with the equipment and the lines. Do everything you can to realize where blind spots can be, and especially with a system that is energized as well. If you can't see the operator or spotter clearly, I mean, stop and fix it, or get somebody else to step in that will understand that facet of the job.
Well, thank you, Brooks. This has been so informative. And it sounds like, again, communication is key and paying attention to your surroundings and knowing everything about safety and the wind, especially.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the Refinery Injury Podcast with Brooks Harrison. If you or a loved one has been crushed or pinned by heavy equipment inside a refinery or plant, visit refineryinjury.com to learn how Brooks and his team can help. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who might need it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.